Good morning students, welcome to the online teaching session of Academic World School Bemitra. This is the third lecture for the chapter From Trade to Territory. In the last class, in the last video we had discussed how trade leads to battle, what were the situations, the area of conflict we had discussed, and today we will continue that. So now we will recall all these and then we will proceed for further. So how this trade lead to battle, students? Trade, East India Company, which was an English company, English trading company, had come to India for doing trade, for purchasing goods at a cheap price and will sell those in Europe. And the main motive of the East India Company was to earn profit. So how this trading activity leads a battle-like situation? How this trading activity created a battle-like situation, that today we will discuss. So in the last class we had discussed that it was Murshid Qali Khan, after the death of Aurangzeb, who was the last powerful Mughal emperor. After the death of Aurangzeb, it was Murshid Qali Khan who became the Nawab of Bengal. After Murshid Qali Khan, it was Ali Bardi Khan who became the Nawab of Bengal. After Ali Bardi Khan, it was Sirajuddaulah who became the Nawab of Bengal. And there were some dissatisfaction, some disagreement. What were the reasons? The reasons were, the first one was concession. Who was seeking concession, students? The East India Company was seeking, expecting concession, discount, or we can term it as trade discount, trade concession. East India Company was seeking discount or concession on the purchase of goods. In return, instead of giving concession to the company, it was Sirajuddaulah who became the Nawab. After Ali Bardi Khan, he demanded for a large tribute. Large tribute from whom? Large tribute from East India Company instead of giving trade concession. And then in return, the company officials wrote many disrespectful letters to the Nawab, and it was a kind of humiliation to the Nawab of Bengal, to Sirajuddaulah. Finally, all this negotiation failed and Sirajuddaulah went with 30,000 soldiers. Sirajuddaulah went with 30,000 soldiers to where? You know, to Kazim Bazar. Who went? Sirajuddaulah. Sirajuddaulah went to Kazim Bazar. What he did in the Kazim Bazar? In Kazim Bazar there was an English factory. In the last class we had explained, we had discussed the difference in between factory and factor. So as the negotiation failed, it was Sirajuddaulah who went to Kazim Bazar with how many soldiers? With 30,000 soldiers. What Sirajuddaulah did there? You know, Sirajuddaulah simply captured all the British officers. Then what he did? Then he blocked ships, then locked the factory, warehouse. And at last, it was Sirajudullah who disarmed So students, as the negotiation failed, it was Sirajudullah who went to Kazim Bazar. What was in the Kazim Bazar? There was an English factory. So with 30,000 soldiers, Sirajudullah moved to Kazim Bazar to take that factory under his control. And what he did there, he captured all the British officials. He went there, he captured all the British officials. He blocked the ships which were there, where in that English factory near Kazim Bazar, and locked the factory. And at last he disarmed. He seized all the arms and ammunition from the Englishmen, from those who were working there. You will be thinking what this arms and ammunition was doing in that factory. In the first class we had discussed that trade was carried on with arms. The company, to protect themselves from other companies, other means those Dutch, Portuguese and the French, and obviously this is India company. They, in order to protect themselves from the external threat, they were maintaining arms and ammunition. However, Sirajudullah went to Kazim Bazar and he captured all the British officials. He disarmed all the English people, Englishmen who were working there. He locked the warehouse and he blocked all the ships which were there. When this news spread, when this news went to British East India Company, they were very much worried because of Sirajudullah. And then after doing all these activities, Sirajudullah went to Calcutta to establish his control over there. And this was the action of Sirajudullah. And do you know, student, what was the reaction of the East India Company? We will discuss it now. As Sirajudullah marched towards Calcutta for establishing his control, it was East India Company who sent an army, who sent a troop under the leadership of Robert Clive to crush Sirajudullah. This led to a battle, and the name of this battle is Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey. This was fought in the year 1757. Now, do you know, student, why the name of this battle is Plassey? Plassey is an English version of the term Pallas. The place where this battle was fought, there was a lot of Pallas plants, or we can say trees. Okay, these Pallas trees are having flowers. The flowers are orange and red in color, which we use for making colors for Holi or Gulal, we can say. So because of this, the name of that place became Plassey, because of the Pallas flowers, Pallas plant, and this is an English version of the term Pallas. So because of that only, the name of this battle became Battle of Plassey. That was fought in the year 1757. The incident that had happened after this, to understand, we need to understand some character, and these characters are: one side, it was the most powerful and infurious Sirajudullah. Another side, it was Robert Clive. So it is very clear, student, Battle of Plassey that was fought in the year 1757. Sirajudullah, who was the Nawab of Bengal. Robert Clive, who was leading the army on behalf of the East India Company. Then Mir Jafar, and then Mir Qasim. Mir Jafar was one of the commander under the Sirajuddaullah's army. Mir Qasim, the relationship between Mir Jafar and Mir Qasim is Mir Qasim was the son-in-law of Mir Jafar. So the battle began with the dissatisfaction. The reasons were what? The area of conflict that we discussed. Because of those reasons, Battle of Plassey occurred or resulted, we can say. And one side it was the Nawab of Bengal, another side it was the East India Company. What happened then? Do you know? It was known to Robert Clive. It was known to Robert Clive that in the Battle of Plassey, definitely he will defeat. So he understood that Sirajudullah was very powerful, furious also, and if he will fight with Sirajudullah, definitely he will defeat. So it was Robert Clive who gave an offer to Mir Jafar. Who was Mir Jafar, students? Mir Jafar was the commander of army under Sirajuddaullah's reign, we can say. Under Sirajuddaullah's administration, we can say. Under the Sirajuddaullah's ruling period, we can say. So Mir Jafar, who was the commander of army, Robert Clive gave one proposal, one offer to Mir Jafar. Why Robert Clive gave this offer? Because it was known to Robert Clive that it was very difficult to defeat Sirajuddaulah. What was the offer? You know, the offer was, if Mir Jafar will help Robert Clive, again I am repeating, if Mir Jafar will help Robert Clive in crushing Sirajuddaulah, then in return Robert Clive will make Mir Jafar as the Nawab. Nawab of whom? Nawab of Bengal. This was the offer proposed by Robert Clive to the commander of Sirajuddaulah. So what happened, do you know? It was Mir Jafar who did not even command to his army to fight against Robert Clive. As a result, Sirajuddaulah defeated. Sirajuddaulah defeated by Robert Clive. And as discussed earlier, it was Robert Clive who made Mir Jafar as the Nawab of Bengal. Students, you will be thinking, in this Battle of Plassey that was fought in the year 1757, Robert Clive won, and Robert Clive was on behalf of the East India Company. So why not this East India Company became the Nawab of Bengal, and why the East India Company did not start to rule over Bengal? This is a very common question that we will be having. The answer is, the main objective of the East India Company was to expand the trade, to increase the trading activity, which would give more and more profit to the company. The company was not in a mood to rule, but the company was always having one objective, that to earn more and more and more profit. So this was all about the Battle of Plassey that was fought in the year 1757. What happened after that? Now Mir Jafar became the Nawab of Bengal. Student, the word Nawab, when we talk about a king, when we talk about a Nawab, there depends, somewhat depends on their subjects. On their subjects means on their citizens. As Mir Jafar became the Nawab of Bengal, he also wanted respect from the heart of their citizen. He also wanted that the people should give respect to him. So it was quite difficult for the Nawabs to satisfy East India Company. Why it was difficult? Why it was not easy to satisfy the East India Company? You know, student, because of a demand, and this demand was for how much, you know? This demand was for 5 lakh rupees per month. The demand from the East India Company was 5 lakh rupees per month. To whom? To the Nawabs. And it was very much difficult for the Nawabs to pay this, to collect it from the people, from their own people, and to give it to this company. So finally it was Mir Jafar who raised his voice for his people, and as a result it was the East India Company who removed Mir Jafar and installed Mir Qasim as the Nawab of Bengal. And what is the relationship in between Mir Jafar and Mir Qasim, students? Mir Qasim was the son-in-law of Mir Jafar. Okay, so now the Nawab of Bengal is Mir Qasim. The same demand was continued from the British government, that is 5 lakh rupees per month. Again it was Mir Qasim who raised his voice. He raised his voice and it resulted another battle. And that battle is called as the Battle of Buxar. Now, is it very clear, student, that the Battle of Buxar was fought in between whom? One side it was East India Company, Robert Clive, and another side it was Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim, who was the Nawab of Bengal after Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar was the father-in-law of Mir Qasim. Okay. So the Battle of Buxar was fought in the year 1764. It is very important to remember these dates. At last, if possible, I will also make a list of all the important dates and I will share with you. Okay. So this was all about Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. I am reminding you, students, after the death of Aurangzeb, it was Murshid Qali Khan who became the Nawab of Bengal. After Murshid Qali Khan, it was Ali Bardi Khan. After Ali Bardi Khan, it was Sirajuddaulah. After Sirajuddaulah, Mir Jafar, and after Mir Jafar, it was Mir Qasim who became the Nawab of Bengal. And till now, we have discussed about two battles. The first one is Battle of Plassey. The second one is the Battle of Buxar. Battle of Plassey was fought in the year 1757, whereas Battle of Buxar was fought in the year 1764. One side Nawab, another side East India Company. Battle of Plassey was fought in between Sirajuddaulah and Robert Clive, whereas this Battle of Buxar also was fought Mir Qasim and the company. Now, after Mir Qasim, the company again, after the Battle of Buxar that was fought in the year 1764, again the company removed this Mir Qasim and installed again Mir Jafar. So now who is the Nawab of Bengal? It is Mir Jafar. But after the death of Mir Jafar, the company decided to rule meaning of territory. Territory means area. Now it is 1765 when the company received zamindari right. Now the company received zamindari rights in the year 1765. After receiving the zamindari rights, it received the Diwani rights. Diwani rights. Now we had discussed that the company had received the zamindari rights earlier and now it received Diwani right. What is this Diwani right? Who collect this? Diwani rights given to the East India Company and those who were collecting these were calling as the Diwan. Now what this Diwani right is? Under Diwani right, East India Company eligible to collect the taxes. Now taxes over whom? Taxes over Bengal. East India Company in the year 1765 received Diwani right from the Mughals. After receiving the Diwani right, the company eligible to collect the tax from Bengal. There is a question. The question is, after receiving the Diwani right, what benefit the company received? The benefit is, the East India Company was a trading company. Trading company means the East India Company was purchasing what? Purchasing goods. Purchasing goods means this cardamom, cinnamon, sandalwood, pepper, cloves, all this the company was purchasing. For purchasing, the company was requiring money. The company was also maintaining army. So for doing all this activity, the East India Company was requiring what? Money. Student, we are discussing that after receiving Diwani right, what benefit the East India Company received. And the benefit is, before purchasing goods and the maintenance of the army, East India Company requiring money which they were bringing from Europe. The East India Company was bringing gold, silver. Gold, silver the East India Company was taking to meet the expenses of army and the purchasing of goods. But now as the company received this Diwani right, after receiving the Diwani right, the East India Company eligible to collect tax, to collect revenue on behalf of the people of Bengal. On behalf of the ruler of Bengal. Okay. Now they are eligible to collect money, collect tax, collect the revenue on behalf of the king, from the people of Bengal. This gave a chance to the company of getting more and more money, so that the company now eligible, now it is able to meet all its expenses and the gold and the silver. The gold and the silver that the East India Company was bringing from Europe, or we can say Britain. Now the company stopped bringing gold and silver from its own country. Now the company received Diwani right, and the company generated its own money to meet its own expenses. Now there is no requirement to bring gold and silver. So this was all about students. After this, we will discuss another topic. The new topic is company officials became Naboo, and then we will discuss about Robert Clive. I know you are having one doubt, one confusion with the term Naboo. Naboo. What I wrote here, students? Here I wrote Nabab, but we need to understand Naboo. It was very difficult for the English people to term Nabab, to say Nabab. So they were simply saying Naboo. So we can define it that the Naboo is an English version of the term Nabab. Now the topic is same to us. We'll understand the topic. Company officials became Naboo. The East India Company was a trading company, had come to East for earning profit with the hope and expectation of earning more and more profit. It was the company officials, the Englishmen, the English officers, or we can say the people of East India Company. They had also come to India with a hope and expectation of earning more and more money and to go back to Europe and to live life like a Nabab. So that's why it has written company officials became Naboo. Again I am repeating, Naboo is an English version of the term Nabab. The people, the officers of the East India Company, they had come to India. Some of them had come to India with an expectation, with an hope to generate, to earn more and more wealth, more and more money, and they can go back to their own country and they can live a life like a Nabab. So this was all about this topic. We will discuss about someone now. That is Robert Clive. We discussed the Battle of Plassey, Siraj-ud-Dowla and Robert Clive, but we have not discussed about Robert Clive. In the year 1743, Robert Clive reached to Madras. Robert Clive came to India and first he came to Madras. Do you know at that time what was his age? At the age of 18. Robert Clive came to Madras. At the age of 18. 1764. See, 1743, Robert Clive came to Madras at the age of 18 only. But in the year 1764, he was appointed as the governor. In the year 1764, it was Robert Clive who appointed as the governor of Bengal for which purpose? To check, to stop corruption. In the year 1767, he left the country. He worked and then he left India. Left the country means India, which was not normal. Normal means what? He left the country, but vast wealth. See student, 1764 he appointed as the governor. Why he appointed as governor? He appointed as the governor to stop, to check corruption. But in the year 1767 he left the country with vast wealth. To where? To Europe. And in the year 1772, it was Robert Clive who cross-examined by whom? By the British Parliament. Cross-examination means when Robert Clive reached to Britain, there he asked. Who asked? The British Parliament asked to Robert Clive. What he asked, He asked about the vast wealth. As he was appointed to check, to stop corruption, now he is having a lot of money. Now he is having a lot of wealth. That was a question from the British Parliament. However, finally in the year 1774, it was Robert Clive who committed suicide. This was all about Robert Clive, students. 1743 reached to Madras. 1764 Robert Clive appointed as the governor of Bengal. 1774 it was Robert Clive who 1764 it was Robert Clive who became the appointed as the governor. 67 left the country. 72 it was Robert Clive who was cross-examined by the British Parliament. 1774 finally he committed suicide. The next topic that we will discuss is company rule expand. Company rule expanded. Student, the rule of the company. See, before we were terming East India Company as a trading company. Now the term came as the rule. The rule of the company expanded, increased. How it increased? That we will discuss. Mostly it increased. Here we will discuss about three policies. The first one is Subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance was a policy that was introduced under East India Company for annexing. Annex means to add, to join. For annexing more and more territory, more and more area under the British rule. Then only it can expand, then only it can grow, and then only the British company will be eligible to generate more and more profit. So the subsidiary alliance, it was introduced under Lord Wellesley. It was introduced under Lord Wellesley. What this subsidiary alliance is saying, according to subsidiary alliance, what it is saying, see students, according to this subsidiary alliance, according to subsidiary alliance, it was introduced under Lord Wellesley that the Indian rulers, we can term as king, we can term as Nawab, or the local rulers, they were not allowed to have their independent armed force. It means they will maintain armed force, but that army will be not independent. That will be dependent under whom? Under the East India Company. So if a ruler will not maintain armed force, then how he will protect himself? How he will protect his citizens? So this king and his subject will be protected by the East India Company with a subsidiary force. But the king has to give money. I'm again explaining it. Subsidiary alliance was a policy introduced under Lord Wellesley. According to subsidiary alliance, the Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed force. They were to be protected by the British government through a subsidiary force, through a army, but the Indian ruler has to give for the maintenance, has to pay for the maintenance of that subsidiary force. If the ruler will fail to pay that, then a part of his territory, a part of his area will be taken, will be merged under the British territory as penalty. The area of Awadh had annexed under this subsidiary alliance. So this was all about, student, the subsidiary alliance. In the next class we will discuss about the remain to policy, that is doctrine of lapse and doctrine of lapse and paramountcy. Assignments related to this topic has been uploaded in ERP. I request you all to download and to do all the assignments as soon as possible. Thank you.